This is story 1 of 5 from our new Jinn and Curse horror series. Headphone, put on your headphones. Turn off the lights. And listen closely. Pushpin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more true horror stories every week.
I never believed in curses. Not really. But what happened to me during a desert expedition in 2022 changed everything I thought I knew about the supernatural. We were exploring an uncharted part of the Sinai Desert when I found an old, rusted amulet buried beneath layers of ancient sand. It was warm to the touch, too warm for something that had been underground for centuries. There were markings on it, not in any language I recognized, twisted, looping symbols that pulsed when I stared at them too long. I should have left it there. That night, I couldn't sleep. Whispers drifted through the tent, even though everyone else was fast asleep. The amulet sat on the table, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Then came the storm, a sudden, violent sandstorm, no warning. The wind howled like 1,000 voices screaming in agony. Things moved on their own. The amulet levitated. And then, something spoke, not out loud but straight into my mind. In a voice that was both ancient and inhuman, I saw it. A reflection behind me in my phone's screen, dark, towering, eyes burning like coals, a Jinn, bound to the amulet. I tried burning it, smashing it, it wouldn't break. The more I resisted, the worse things got. Nightmares, scratches on my body, the feeling of always being watched. A local elder saw it and turned pale. He said it was the seal of Ifrit, a cursed item used to imprison a high-ranking Jinn centuries ago. And now, I had disturbed it. He helped me perform a ritual to seal the curse. But he warned me, once touched by a Jinn, you're never truly free. You just learn to live with its shadow. I left the desert. The amulet is gone. But every now and then, I still hear the whispers. And sometimes ... my closet door opens by itself. Some doors, once opened, never truly close. If you believe some items are better left buried, you're not alone. Subscribe for more true horror stories you'll never forget. Story to the house possessed by a silent Jinn. Some houses don't creak from age, they breathe. And this one, hidden at the edge of an empty village, had lungs I couldn't see, but I heard them. I moved in alone. No one had lived there for years. But from the moment I stepped inside, I felt watched, not by someone but by something. The mirrors were all covered, every single one. When I lifted one of the cloths, I saw a mark burned into the glass, a symbol, looping endlessly, pulsing. The first night, I heard breathing, slow, heavy, but there was no one there. Just walls and silence. It didn't walk. It didn't speak. But it was always near, a pressure on the air. A presence in the walls. I found a journal under the floorboards belonging to the last tenant. She wrote, "He lives in the silence. Do not speak to him. Do not listen. Who are you?" I made a mistake. I spoke to it. I said, "Who are you?" And the silence answered with a whisper that said my name, though I had never told anyone I was here. Every light died. My phone screen cracked. The mirror uncovered itself, and in the dark, I saw no face, just the outline of something tall, still breathing. The house wouldn't let me go. Every time I reached the door, something pushed it shut. It wanted me inside, forever. Whispers in a language I didn't know, Arabic. I think played backward, circling my mind. They weren't speaking to me. They were speaking through me. The final words I read before the journal turned to ash in my hands. He doesn't leave. He listens. He lives in stillness. He's not loud. He's loyal. And he's here. I'm not in the house anymore. But sometimes I close my eyes and hear nothing. And that's when I know's closest. If silence feels safer than sound, you've already heard him. Subscribe for more real horror stories because the next one might be yours. Story 3: The Curse of the Sealed Grave. True story, they told us never to touch the sealed graves. The ones marked with no name, no date, just a symbol burned into stone. Curiosity isn't a sin until it's rewarded. And on that cold morning, I found a grave that never wanted to be found. It wasn't just buried, it was locked, chains, wax seals. Symbols in ancient script meant to bind something or someone. The moment I touched it, the wind vanished. Not slowed, vanished. And for a second, the earth felt like it was holding its breath. It started that night. Whispers from the corners. Faint scratching beneath the floorboards. And a smell wet dirt and ash. I lived alone. But when I woke up, there were footprints, small, barefoot covered in gravel soil, leading from my door to my bed. I dreamed of being buried, hands grabbing, soil filling my mouth, while voices chanted in reverse. I woke up coughing dirt on my tongue. I went back, I had to. The chains were broken, the slab had moved, but there was nothing inside, just hollow earth and claw marks leading out. It followed me, but it never shows itself directly. It waits in reflections, just out of sight. Always watching, never blinking. I asked the oldest man in the village when I described a symbol. He went pale and whispered, "That's not a grave, it's a prison. I wear a charm now. Never take it off." But every night the scratching continues. And sometimes the gravel soil returns to my floor. You don't unbury the cursed, you release them. And they never forget the one who set them free. Some graves are sealed for a reason. If you're still listening, you're already cursed. Subscribe for more stories they never wanted told.
Story for the doll that whispers in the dark. True story. It looked harmless, just an old doll, sitting on a dusty shelf at a flea market. Porcelain skin, glass eyes, mouth stitched shut with faded thread. The vendor said, "It's better if you don't open her mouth," he laughed. I thought it was a joke. I took her home. That night, I heard scratching from the closet. I blamed the cat. I don't own a cat. By morning, her head was turned facing the bed. I remember clearly I had left her looking at the wall. I dreamed of a little girl, her mouth sewn shut, eyes wide with fear. She kept pointing to her throat, trying to speak, trying to scream. But all I heard was a whisper, "Let me out." The next night, the stitches unraveled one by one. By morning, the mouth was wide open. Inside was a tongue, not plastic, human. Whispers came constantly after that. Sometimes from behind me, sometimes from inside the walls. I started hearing my name, spoken in a voice that sounded like a child. And something else layered underneath. I searched for answers. Found a report from 1978. A girl vanished after her mother bought her a porcelain doll from the same market. Case unsolved. I set up a camera. At 3:12 a.m. she moved. Not fell, moved. Her hand twitched, her eyes shifted, and then crawling. From the ceiling, I contacted a priest. He came to the door. But the moment he saw the doll through the window, he turned pale and left. He texted later, "That's not a doll. That's a vessel." Her mouth began moving. Whispers filled the room. They weren't coming from her. They were coming through her from something else. I tried fire. As she burned, I heard a scream, not outside, inside my head. And when the flames died, she sat there and touched, smiling. I don't know where I am now. Sometimes I wake up in places I've never been. But she always finds me. Her mouth is shut again, waiting for the next person curious enough to open it. They say, if you hear the whisper, it's already too late. Subscribe now before she chooses you next. Story 5: The book that should never be opened. True story, I never meant to find it. I was just exploring the attic of my grandfather's abandoned farmhouse. Dusty boxes, broken furniture, and the unmistakable silence of a place long forgotten. But then, beneath a pile of yellowed newspapers, I saw it. A book bound in brittle, blackened leather, with a lock that had already been broken. It had no title. I opened the first page, and the letters. They weren't English, or Latin, or anything I've ever seen. They twisted across the page like ink bleeding in water. And even before I could read a word, I heard it whisper my name. I remembered, as a kid, seeing my grandfather burning books in the backyard. He used to say, some stories shouldn't be remembered. Maybe this was one of them, but I was too curious, too arrogant. That night, I placed the book beside my bed. At 3:07 a.m., I woke up standing in the hallway. The book was open pages turning by themselves. I was frozen. And then it flipped to a page where a strange symbol began glowing like breathing light. From that moment, everything changed. Mirrors in the house showed rooms that didn't exist. I heard whispers in languages I didn't know. My phone would ring, but there was never a caller. Only breathing, always slow, wet breathing. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that same page, that same glowing symbol, and a shadow that grew closer every night. I sent a photo of the book to a professor of ancient languages. He called me back, but all I heard was him screaming. Then the line went dead. He was found 2 days later. Heart stopped, eyes wide open. I tried burning it, but the flames refused it, tried drowning it. The book dried instantly. Then I buried it deep in the woods, but it came back. On my doorstep the next morning, clean, untouched, waiting. I don't know how much time I have, but if you're hearing this, don't look for it. Don't try to read it. Some books are written not to tell a story, but to summon it. There's someone outside. They've been standing there 4 hours, holding the book, smiling. If I vanish, know this. The book isn't cursed. It's alive, and it's looking for its next reader.